everything is you. And so when you don't like something, it really starts with you. And so if you can start to shift and stop judging and pay attention to like moving your state into a better place where you feel better. So if you could choose one thing and that's to feel better, that's going to shift everything else.
This is the CHIRO Inspired Podcast, where chiropractors come to learn, to be empowered, and to be inspired. I'm your host, Dr. Richard Lena. Hey everyone, welcome. This is the CHIRO Inspired Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Rich. Or you can call me Dr. Richard Leta, or you can call me Dr. Leta, whatever you want. Today's guest is Dr. Lona Cook. Now, Dr. Lona Cook grew up in Chippewa Falls and graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and then attained her chiropractic degree at Northwestern Health Sciences University, where I went to school. Now, from when I was in school, Dr. Lona would frequently come to campus and talk to students and teach students essentially a little bit more of the insights of practice. And she's really known for paying off her student loans in a very quick manner. She's the author of several books, including Just Tell Me Where to Start, the CA/DC Synergy Manual, which help docs make the most out of their chiropractic career. Now, she's been in practice since 2010 in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and has since then added another 2 practice locations, being intimately involved in growing them. She's been the speaker on platforms such as New Beginnings, The Wave, Mile High, the United Chiropractic Association, and Northwestern Health Sciences University's Homecoming, and many, many more. Again, she's been to our campus many times to speak to different clubs, like our business clubs and some of our business classes. And, her insight to practice has been phenomenal for students. And she just has this way of really almost being very, very motherly in the sense of how she communicates to us. You can tell that she's, very passionate about what she does. She's really passionate about teaching students and newer docs, how to really optimize and have a successful career. And so that's why I really wanted to reach out to her and get her on here. I actually had the help of my friend, Dr. Mel Krug, who you heard in the previous episode. But again, she's been a phenomenal connection and colleague within this profession. I was absolutely very, very excited to have her on. Now, in the background, you'll probably hear some noise. Dr. Lona was just coming from the office and really last minute had to do the interview at home where there's some construction being done and she couldn't really help it. So you might hear some rattling and some pounding on the walls, but you're still going to find some great value from this episode. So, try to get through it. Try to just hear the message and listen a little bit more intently today, because what Dr. Lona Cook talks about is very, very, very insightful, especially if you're just starting off in practice. Now, if you know Dr. Lona Cook, she accredits her chiropractic philosophy to helping her create a lot of her success and fulfillment within this profession. It also just keeps her motivated to learn and grow continuously. So I think you'll hear that within the interview today. But for those of you just tuning in for the first time to the CHIRO Inspired Podcast, I really implore you to go back to some of my earlier interviews and just try to get as much as you can from them. They are a little bit more preliminary interviews that I've done. And as I start releasing more and more of these, you'll start to hopefully hear some of the improvements in terms of my communication. But Dr. Lona just provides a lot of information and value in this episode. So take some time to listen through it. Again, go back to some of the other ones that I've done already, and hopefully you get just one thing from this. I've really enjoyed just the process of interviewing different guests and, learning a lot from them. And again, I always want to go back to this because it might seem that I have random guests on here sometimes, and sometimes I'll have a high ticket name or a really well-known name, but my point or my goal with this podcast is to really just help you find inspiration in the stories of a lot of our colleagues who might not even be really, really well known out there. And you never know when these guys are probably going to be on stage someday or be a big timer in this profession. But regardless of that, each and every one of us has a valuable story that we can learn from and take one piece of information from and apply that to our life and to our practice, to our career, and just be a better human being, a better chiropractor, a better husband, a better wife, a better friend, a better son, a better daughter, whatever you want to improve at. You know, these episodes and these interviews are meant for you just to get one piece of information from and take that and apply that within your life. Now, even if you don't resonate with every single guest that comes on here or something that is said, I ask you just take it with maybe a grain of salt and dilute it a little bit and digest it and see what you think about that. And a lot of what these interviews are really for too are just to be thought-provoking and to challenge where you are in your mindset so that you can grow even more to be the version of yourself that you really want to be the person that you need to be in order to succeed in this profession and in this life. So I hope you guys enjoy today's episode with Dr. Lona Cook. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, please feel free to join the Chiro Inspired community on Facebook. And always feel free to reach out to me whenever you have a question or some feedback, or even just want to get to know me. I'm all yours. I try to be a very friendly guy and very open to communicating with you. So enjoy today's episode. Now here's my guest, Dr. Lona Cook. Dr. Lona Cook, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Dr. Richard.
I seriously appreciate you being here. It's amazing to see, a lot of powerful women out there in the profession. And it was
the women are moving and shaking.
That's what I noticed that you guys are taking over, and it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. But yeah, I seriously appreciate
I like that idea.
Yeah, you know what? And I think if you look at the profession right now and you look at different groups, the women are definitely taking over. So
it's exciting to see so many women fulfilling leadership positions within the profession, whether that's from, on stages sharing from their heart or politically or just, creating more content for other women and other men for that matter. I think it's really exciting right now. I just got connected with the Women Chiropractors group, and they have 7,000 members, which I was like, that's amazing. That's awesome. So just seeing what they're doing too is pretty cool.
Wow, I didn't know. So I'll probably have to look them up. And I think I saw them at CalGym. Were they there? Do you know?
Probably. I wasn't at CalGym this year, so I would assume they had probably quite a few people there. I just don't know if they were there as far as with a booth or whatnot. There's also the League of Chiropractic Women. There's various groups, but I guess the Women Chiropractors group has a free membership as well as then kind of a staggered. So then you can pay a little bit more and have some monthly content or do something where you're actually kind of giving back into the profession. And then you're at their highest level of membership. So between those three groups, I guess they've got over 7,000 members. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll make sure to include that in the resources. So
cool.
So Dr. Lona, can you tell the listeners more about yourself, your practice, your business, your family, whatever you'd like to share?
Okay, awesome. Well, I graduated from Northwestern in end of 2009, and through a series of events that was kind of a long story, ended up moving back to my hometown, which is the last place that I actually thought during school I would end up. But it ended up being, a true blessing, and opened my first practice then a couple months later in 2010, January 2010. And it's really grown from there. So within the first few years, I was solely focused on growing this practice. And I had great mentors teaching me, various things that I really needed to learn from business and financial ends of things, as well as starting to really deepen my chiropractic philosophy. And so after getting, a couple years into it, one of the things that was unique to me was that I had a background in creative writing. And so I put together kind of this testimony, if you will, of what it took the first few years to get a practice off the ground running, pay down student debt, all of those things. So that book is available on Amazon and my website. It's called Just Tell Me Where to Start. And that has been a resource mainly for students and new docs to kind of just hear, like, you don't have to spend a ton of extra money. You can get open, you can pay your loans off, and give people hope that, that is a doable thing. And so from writing that book, that really, kind of catapulted me into having a voice in the profession. And so I got to do some speaking and certainly meeting with different campuses and student groups. And from that, and then, just one thing led to another, and we ended up opening another practice. And then now we actually have 3 practices kind of in our sisterhood of practices. So I'm a co-owner in the other 2. And I've really gotten to see what that initial phase of practice growth and getting doors open and growing from the ground up has been like over this past 10 years. So that has been a lot of what I've been up to this last 10 years professionally, getting to, see a lot of what's happening around the country too, with various seminars and speaking at them. And then I have a 4-year-old. He just turned 4 last week, and he's actually home with me right now, unplanned, because we had daycare issues today. So Jack is watching The Land Before Time right now as we're doing this interview.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I'm lucky in the sense that I am back home. So my dad's going to, take him over to play outside or something this afternoon when I go to practice. So from a family standpoint and back in kind of my roots, my husband and I live here. For the first few years of our marriage, we kind of split the difference between various areas. And that's, was a little bit of a craziness because he had a business in one area and I had our practices in a different area. So we were just like chicken with our head cut off running around. So I definitely know that, like, the evolution of growth and change that you go through from I'm a student to now I'm owning a practice to getting married to growing a family, and how that kind of ebbs and flows in your vision and how it can change and how your life has to change. I think it just keeps getting better, but it doesn't make it easy all the time to go through these different shifts that we go through as we grow. So that's who I am today.
You have 3 different practices. You said you co-own 2 of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Walk us through, like, what does that look like for you? Do you run around? Like,
Yeah.
So how does it work in terms of scheduling?
Yes. Okay. Well, this is probably the most grounded as in terms of scheduling that I've been for a while. So I only practice in one practice. That's the original practice. I'm there 3.5 days a week. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 9 to noon, 3 to 6. And then afternoon on Tuesday, we have a shift as well. I have an associate in this practice, and she's really taken over. We continue to do some work within our school district here for staff and students, especially with disabilities. And so she's kind of taken over our offsite work, and then I'm the only DC usually in the office. And then as far as my other offices, what a long story short was that I opened the second one thinking that at the time we would eventually move and I would be primarily at the new practice. And after I realized, I can't do 2 practices by myself, I luckily attracted Dr. Shelby Henriksen, who was graduating. You might know her as well. Mm-hmm. And she bought in and became a partner with me in that second practice and then really grew it. And she's been phenomenal in that practice. So she's the only doctor that sees patients in that practice unless, she's on vacation or something. And I just, go over there 1 or 2 times a month to help train and keep things running. So we try and duplicate our systems and what works as far as, business operations, as well as just our philosophies of practice to be very congruent throughout the 3 practices. And then the third practice came when I had a different associate for about 4 years in my original practice, and then she was ready to kind of do her next thing. And so I had said to her, this would be a possibility where we could open a practice. And she took that and has gone to town on it. And so she's doing quite well as well. And her practice is only about 20 miles from mine. So they're pretty close. We had, some patients that were overlapped there where they just shifted into her practice. And then she just has kept growing from that point on. So that's the newest practice. And that one opened about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You sound like you're busy, but then at the same time, you've kind of narrowed it down to just being in your practice mostly.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yes. We try and collaborate for training and keeping things, relevant for all three practices, but each of them have kind of their uniqueness as well.
And I think that's fair. Like every practice, whether like there's a lot of franchise out there, but each practice within that franchise is going to be unique to, almost the doctor, right? So
totally. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So tell us what inspired you to become a chiropractor?
Oh yeah, I love this question. If I didn't know the full picture of my family at this point, I would have said it was just, I had a great childhood chiropractor growing up. I thought she was awesome. Her name is MJ Gonstead. We went periodically. I thought everyone went to their chiropractor periodically. I had no idea that a lot of people did not utilize chiropractic. And so I remember in 11th grade, I had to shadow a chiropractor or shadow someone for a potential career. And so I chose to go spend a few hours in her practice. And then she gave me a job in the summertime. And that just kind of sealed the deal that I wanted to be like her. And I thought it was pretty cool that she was helping people with her hands. And I saw how much my dad really benefited from chiropractic care. So it just, again, solidified that that's what I thought I wanted to do. Now, in hindsight, my grandfather, who just passed away last year, he was 98 when he passed. He had chiropractic care since he was a young child. Wow. And so some of these stories he told me after I became a chiropractor about that, his mom, who was a widow, would take him and his brothers to the chiropractor because she didn't have money to go to the medical doctor, but she knew if they went in and got an adjustment, they usually did better. They didn't get sick as often, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so she had money to do that. And I thought that was pretty awesome to just kind of hear some of his kind of crazy stories from forever ago and how chiropractic really shaped his life. And then he became someone who took his kids to the chiropractor, and then I was a colicky baby, so my dad started taking me and convinced my mom that, this is what needs to be done. She needs to go have an adjustment. And so it just became like this very normal thing in my family lineage that we went to chiropractors, and that's why I went into school thinking everyone went to the chiropractor, that it is just as normal as going to the dentist. And I think that served me really well.
And I think when I heard your story before, and when you went to chiropractic school, one of the professors, I guess, said that it's going to be hard for you to get mm-hmm. people to say, is that right?
Yes. And I think it was on the first day of school. They said, this is a tough profession because you got to tell people why they have to come back. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting there thinking over that while I'm sitting in the auditorium, like, what does he mean? Like, why wouldn't people come back? And I just thought, like, that's not hard. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, in hindsight, I understand, like, we have some education to do for sure. But I also think a lot of the public really is ready to get it, if you will, or they're looking for these type of solutions to help their health and well-being. And, a lot of it is we make it too difficult, or we try and communicate too much and we overwhelm them, when really most people can get it when we talk simply and put the pieces together for them. And, whether that is that they're going to be a wellness patient and come in routinely, or that they just come in periodically when they feel they need to. I also am big on not making people wrong for their decisions. And I think, just because someone might only show up periodically in your office, you can still be of great service to them.
Absolutely. So that being said, like, you have 3 offices. What are some of the struggles that you've had in that? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming already you're going to be fairly busy, but we talked about that. But
yeah,
what are some of the struggles that you did find that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think the struggle is always between your 2 ears. As the visionary for your office, whether that's brand new and you're starting, or you're trying to shape shift into a new format of office, all of it comes between like how you look at it. And I think that was an illusion that had to burst for me, was that there would be a point where everything just felt easy. And I don't think that's real. I think it just always changes form, so something that felt difficult before becomes very easy because you get used to doing it and you're good at it. And then all of a sudden there's this new, thing that you have to learn, and you have a new learning curve. And so I think originally going into practice, I thought, okay, when I get to this volume a week, or when my student loans are gone, or whatever it was, it's just going to all of a sudden feel like you're coasting. And that obviously isn't real. So I think, some of it is just mindset, getting your mindset right, that like, I'm going to feel grateful every day that I can go into the office and serve people. And whether that's 2 people, 20 people, or 200 people, you're going to take the opportunity that's given to you and feel passionate about what's coming into your world. I also think sometimes we get so in our head that we forget to take action. And so I think action is a great equalizer as far as like, if you're feeling anxiety over building a practice, or fear or worry, one of my mentors said to me, like, when in doubt, blast into action. And I think that was a beautiful thing to say, because, you can be sitting there thinking, where's my next new patient going to come from when you're building a practice? And instead of sitting there worrying, it'd be better to just go out and try and meet 5 or 10 people. Mm-hmm. So that, again, comes between your ears, but it's, an important lesson to learn that, sometimes just getting out there and meeting people and getting out of your fear place where you're struggling to do anything can be the thing that helps push you forward. And you can, then see like, everything's going to be okay, Yeah. I also think a big learning curve for me was learning about money, learning about debt, and learning about debt elimination was huge. Because it really, by learning that I wanted to pay off debt quickly, allowed me to have this like very worthy goal to, when you're going to see a lot of people or will grow a practice, there's going to be an influx of abundance and money into your life if, that's the way that you're going to create an exchange. And so I think, again, someone really hammered into me that this exchange is going to be there, and we need to know what to do with that money. We need to be good stewards of the money. And so that was a big learning curve for me too, was that to not put any sort of negative or positive connotation on it. It's just an exchange, and that I want to do something good with that money so that I can keep serving more people, because it's just flowing through me into a purposeful way. And so for me, paying off student loans was the way that I first started to funnel money into something. That was a big learning curve for me. Another one. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you. So I know you as the doc that paid off her student loans in 2 years, $150,000. Was that right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Wasn't living glamorously, but it was like my goal was to just hammer debt, and so I lived pretty frugally, and that was my main focus as far as when the money fluxed in, I was going to pay down this debt. Yeah. And there's many strategies with that. And I think it, again, has to be like what works for you, as far as like, if you've got kids and you've got a house and a mortgage, your student loans might not be the best place for that money to flow. Mm-hmm. So just being mindful too, that like what works for one person isn't necessarily the thing that you have to do. It's just still the concepts can help you, of like that money is energy. It's just an exchange. And we want to be good stewards of that and move it into places that are going to support the vision that we have, instead of not putting enough time and energy into understanding money in that way.
Cool. I think one of your coaches was Tori Robeson. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Tori taught me a lot about business systems, and certainly money and debt, and being aware of like what interest is accruing, and if you pay it off faster, what is that going to mean? If you eliminate your debt 5 years faster by making extra payments, then those 5 years at the end, when you would still be paying on the debt, you can start, accumulating money in savings or other strategies of building wealth, and so no one had ever talked to me about money that way. And I think that's such a part of what's missing sometimes is, here we are, the chiropractors want to help people with our hands and teach them about natural well-being. And then we forget that we have to wear this business hat as well. And so that gets all kind of mucked up. And then all of a sudden, we wonder why now we're not serving very many people, because we're all out of whack as far as our business is concerned or our money is concerned. So, that's a hard learning curve, I think, is just like these 3 hats we wear, from the business hat to the entrepreneur and the business owner to also having to get out there and share a message and market. And that's, something that I think if you come into business realizing like, the chiropractic part of this should be eventually the easy part, because I love putting my hands on people. I know I can help them. And sometimes the other stuff is the stuff we need either more training on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's do this. Where do you see yourself in the future with all the practices, and where do you see chiropractic in the future?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we just continue to become more mainstream. I mentioned that we get to do some pretty cool work in our school district here, and that's been a great learning curve for me as far as seeing that so many people, I think, want the benefits of chiropractic, but they just don't know that chiropractic is part of that solution for them. And so, it was a series of events that led to just asking the right people, movers and shakers that were involved in our district, about providing chiropractic first to the staff. And then it was just kind of like, as more and more of the staff started to be under care and see the benefits of chiropractic, then the next natural thing was them to ask about like, well, what about the kids, and I just see that as like, in my vision, if I could have a perfect vision right now for what would happen, is I think we look at PT and OT, and there's many schools that employ PTs and OTs so that kids, especially kids that have disabilities or have needs where they're going to need to have some of this care to make it through their day, to help them focus, help them, be in their learning environment. I think chiropractic could be a huge resource in that way. And, if we can help kids understand how to take care of their bodies differently, that changes healthcare, because the kids are the next generation. So, my vision is to like just keep broadening how accepted we are, and helping people who are looking for chiropractic. They just don't maybe know it's called chiropractic, what they're looking for. And help find avenues to do that. Yeah. And so like our big project right now is this work that we're doing within the school district, because I can see how it could be much bigger than just the Chippewa Falls school district. It could be, all of Wisconsin, and then all of the United States having more access, and more kids under chiropractic care during their day. Yeah.
Well, speaking to that, do you think, or what do you think holds the schools back from fully accepting us? I guess you think it's more so the education part of it, like we're not doing a good job of communicating our message, or?
No, I spoke on this. I am really involved in my state association, and last year, one of the things I do believe this is like, we look at dentistry, right? And dentistry is pretty accepted. Even if you don't go to the dentist routinely, you don't tell people that, because you're supposed to, right? Mm-hmm. So, on some levels, I think that's what we're trying to strive for, is that this like common acceptance of the public knowing that chiropractic is good. Chiropractic is what you do for a healthy spine and nervous system. And even if you don't go once a month or once a week or whatever, you kind of believe in or know that you should be doing, you at least know that that's a healthy choice, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I think about that, then I started looking at our numbers and realizing, if we really want that, we'd have to grow our profession first. We need more chiropractors, and we certainly would need more chiropractors who want to see lots of people, to be able to facilitate a population that was totally ready. So I think we're just still in this growing phase. I think we beat ourselves up way too much that like, oh, people don't get us, or we're not telling a common message. And don't get me wrong, we've got our own issues internally, but I also think, maybe it's not as dire as we think it is. And maybe the voices are starting to like unify some, because people are looking for other things other than drugs and surgery. I just think we're coming into a really good place where we can offer, a lot of things that people are looking for through the message of chiropractic. Living healthier, having, more energy, being more alive because you're in your system and you're balanced. And I think when we tell a message where they understand that this is about the integrity of your nervous system and having that functioning at the highest capability, and start to draw those pictures, I mean, it's pretty easy to look at a spine and realize that's pretty important. It's protecting that, that highway throughout you. So I think people get it. I think it's just a matter of time of more and more of us just stretching our necks out a little bit, sending more people to chiropractic school, hopefully having chiropractic schools that, want chiropractic to grow, all of those things.
That's one thing, like one of my goals in my career is to literally send like 500 people to chiropractic school, or like influence 500 people into chiropractic school. So that's amazing.
It's a great goal.
Yeah. Like my chiropractor, I was actually going to go into medicine, and then understanding more about chiropractic and the body, and even going through school and challenging what I was being taught from my chiropractor, and like going through my biochemistry degree at the University of Winnipeg. And I was like, holy smokes, this guy is right. And it made so much sense. And I saw the transformation with myself that I was like, you know what? I want to bring this to the world. I'd rather give people, hope and natural ways to deal with whatever health issue they're dealing with. Yes. And instead of giving them something like a pill to mask the symptoms. And mind you, like, I believe strongly that we need the medical system. We probably have one of the best medical systems in terms of crisis care.
Right.
When it comes down to chronic, lifestyle-based diseases out there, I think, a lot of the natural, I don't like the word alternatives, but the natural professions are really growing and are doing an amazing job at, getting the message out there that, hey, like, you can do this without the use of that stuff, and you can do this in a more natural way. So I love that. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Totally. I think that's where, social media and all these different platforms that allow us to have influence without the same deep pocketbooks too, are taking this also to a whole nother level.
So that being said, what keeps you going? You have 3 practices, you have a family. What inspires you every day to keep showing up, keep serving, keep grinding?
Yeah, I think I'm just a geek about learning about human potential and understanding how life works. And I think the more that I got into the philosophy of chiropractic and then the philosophy of like life and starting to read some of these, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, other scientists that are going into more of the quantum aspects of life, just geeks me out. So then I think about how chiropractic influences that electromagnetic aspect of us that is our life channel, and that is why I love chiropractic. And so for that reason, I think I'm geeked out about just learning more about how to live more in your full potential, and then wanting to help other people do that as I work on myself. I see the connection there. Like, if I work on myself and learn how to keep myself in better rapport, I'm that much more influential in my outer world too, and have more of what I'm pulling into my own world. So I think that's what keeps me going, is recognizing that, like, what's right for me is then right for those around me, and seeing that kind of as a mirror. Those are the type of things that get me moving, where I know that, if I don't take action because I'm just complacent, then I can't complain or have a voice because I didn't use my own, There's a lot of people that don't even know it's happening because you're not tapped in. So it's like things like that keep me moving, keep me expanding and learning that, what I thought was how things were going to operate a year ago is no longer going to be how things are today, because I have to keep changing and growing. And then that keeps me excited because I get on to the next project. And so for me, it's really about staying excited about whether it's practice or a seminar or what I'm learning or a new project. And then the new project is part of my creativity, and that allows me to just be grounded in the practice. I definitely have to have kind of some outlets for myself of creative energy, as well as okay, I'm here, I'm serving, I'm grounded,
Using both sides, like the creative side of your brain and also the analytical side, left side and right side.
Yes, definitely.
We're going through the same thing here, where there are some political things that I probably won't get into just for the sake of not getting into it. But one thing I've noticed with a lot of my colleagues here is that, and I'm not trying to call them out, but you know, a lot of us, or a lot of people in our profession, you know what, they won't take action. They'll put their heads down, they'll get down to practice, and I'm 100% with that. You know, just helping people one at a time. But then there's eventually there's a time where the bully gets into your sandbox, and then you have to actually do something. So we're definitely going through that too. So let's go here. Like, on top of everything we've spoken about already, what's one thing you would like to leave with the audience? Maybe that's an affirmation, a quote, a life lesson that you haven't shared yet, something that resonates with you.
Ooh, let me think about that. Well, I think the thing that helps me the most is to realize, like, you don't have to have any of it all figured out. And I think that seems nebulous, but truly, like, so many people that I think struggle in practice it's part of their struggle is that they're so in their head. They don't want to do something wrong, or they think they have to have something perfectly down before they take action on it. And I think that breeds a lot of, like, inaction then, because you're constantly worried or hard to know how you're supposed to move through something. And a lot of it is just letting go in that moment. Like, right now, I'm going to change my frame of thought towards this, and I'm going to just make a decision. So, you know, one of the things I think has been the most impactful part of why I've been able to create what I've created in 10 years is that I'm okay with making decisions. And it doesn't always have to be the right one. I just know that if I make one and I move, either I'm going to realize that's the wrong decision and I can make a different one, or I'm going to say, okay, great, I got way further because I didn't have all this inaction brewing. I actually made a decision, moved on to the next step. So whatever that can apply to in your life, I would say, you know, please start making decisions for yourself and then just resting in them. Don't go back and hash it all out a million times.
Be more so decisive instead of indecisive.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. I love that. Okay. Well, I have some bonus questions for you, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I know I actually have Just Tell Me Where to Start or just one of the books that you've written.
Yep.
There's also a manual, I think. Is it the CADC manual?
Yep. So the CADC book is it's like a dialogue between Annie and myself. Annie's my office manager for the last 6 or 7 years. Just on, like, how do you communicate well with each other? How do you help your staff, and especially your office manager and yourself, to be, like, synergistic and on the same page, and creating, you know, hopefully energy that you can bounce between the two of you. And that can be huge for masterminding and creating more energy in the office. So that is written to be read kind of as a team together.
Okay, cool. And that's available on Amazon as well, or your website?
Yes, both.
Okay, Perfect. Anything else that you have?
Well, so last year I kind of got pulled into a project that allowed me to realize, like, you know, I'd kind of, like, gotten restful in creating things. I hadn't written for a little bit. And so we ended up pulling together some resources. I revamped, first of all, the first book. After opening 3 practices, I wanted to go back through and just kind of make sure that I had added in some of my other lessons. And then with that, I put together a download that is, I think it's like 12 or 14 PDFs, and then a few videos on jumping into practice and opening a practice. So that's a resource that's also on the website that for DCs who aren't necessarily sure they want to do coaching, or they don't know what they need yet for coaching, because there's so much coaching out there. And I think it can be overwhelming. Coaching is really helpful, but it also can be kind of a scary choice because you're signing contracts and all that whatnot. So I wanted to just make something that someone could just download, not a lot of money, and get some resources that they can start crafting out their vision and get specific on how am I going to open this practice. So that's on the website as well, drlonacook.com.
Okay, awesome. I'll put that also in the show notes too.
Thank you.
So let's go with one last question.
Sure.
What's one piece of advice, or let's go with this. What's the one piece of advice that has helped you tremendously? Like, what one thing that comes to mind?
Oh, well, my greatest influencer, hands down, has been a woman named Lisa Thielen, who's not a chiropractor. She is a Reiki master. She's like gifted energy healer. And, what she really has taught me is that everything is you. And so when you don't like something, it really starts with you. And so if you can start to shift and stop judging and pay attention to like moving your state into a better place where you feel better. So if you could choose one thing and that's to feel better, that's going to shift everything else. So, whether you're feeling stuck or you're in a hard spot and you're marinating in it, choose something that's going to feel better. Maybe that's to go for a run. Maybe that's to have a conversation that just needs to have so that you can stop thinking about it. Maybe it's to stop talking and just be silent for a little bit. Anything that helps you get your state into a better place is going to be part of what helps your life, your business, your finances get to a better place. It's the doing the thing that is a repetition. When we don't create change, it's like, then we can't expect to get anything different. And so she's really helped me understand that like your state, the law of attraction of who you be is the most important thing that you can take care of.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So for all our listeners, I'll have show notes in a link below, but also you can reach Dr. Lona at, I think it's www.drlonacook.com.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'll also put that in there. Anywhere else that the docs listening can reach you at, Dr. Lona?
Well, we have Facebook, Instagram. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'm here to help. I think later this year I'm going to be at the Wave in California, which is at Life West. So that'll be great. It's a great seminar. If anyone can make it out there, that's awesome. To just kind of collaborate and hear some great speakers. I'm also going to be at the Big Idea in Wichita with Devin Brana later this year too. So those will be great places to connect.
Yeah, I mean, those have been definitely two of the events that I've wanted to check out. I've been to CalJam twice. I think we're going to Parker next year, but those are definitely a couple of them. Focus is one of them. And
yes, Devin will be there. I know that.
CHIRO Fest too. So
yeah, they all sound awesome.
Cool. Well, if you also know anyone that would you think it would be a good guest, I'd love to connect with them if possible.
Yeah, I'll connect you to Denise and Devin and Katina if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And we also, so this is a funny thing. I wanted to mention this to you. I wanted to take Thompson Technique, a seminar. So yes. I emailed Dr. John Minardi.
Sure.
And he said he's not coming to Northwestern anytime soon. And I didn't want to travel to Toronto. So he said to actually look you up and reach out to you. And I think I did. I emailed you. I just never got a chance to make it out.
Well, I took his series in school and they were great. And I totally think if possible, you would take them through him because he's going to teach you 10 times more than I ever could probably about the actual technique.
Yeah.
We use a lot of the like analysis for sure. But I don't do drop piece in cervical or thoracic.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend his seminar series though, if you could get in that. I know Northwestern hasn't had him out for quite a while. I don't know the logistics of that. I don't know. It may have even been the last time when I was there that he was there. I'm not sure.
I had him here in Winnipeg for the ICPA.
Okay, yeah.
And I listened to all his stuff on YouTube. So he's definitely one person I'd like to be on here too.
Oh, yeah. That would be great. Well, I'd be happy to try and make that connection for you as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Anyone else, just let me know. And I'm literally, this is not a podcast for getting the biggest names out there. I'm not looking for people that are 1,000-a-week chiropractors. I'm looking literally for people that just have a story and want to, help others with their story and find some inspiration in that. So,
yeah, that sounds great. It's been an awesome interview. So you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm excited to listen to some of the other ones that you do.
Yeah. So I'll have. This is a pre-recording. I'm doing a bunch of them before I release it.
Yep.
So I'll definitely send you a link and let you know when it's up, but you'll be within the first probably 5 or 6 episodes. So
sounds great.
Okay. Well, Thank you so much again, Dr. Lona.
Thank you, Richard. I will hopefully cross paths with you in the next year or so at one of these events.
We definitely will. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the CHIRO Inspired Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please take some time to rate and review this on iTunes or wherever you're listening. If you know a friend or colleague who you think may get value from this episode or podcast, please feel free to share this with them. My goal is to always provide you with value and to leave you inspired. I believe that inspiration is all around us, but more importantly, first comes from within us. We are all a source of inspiration for others and also for ourselves. If you have any suggestions or know anyone who would be a great guest, please feel free to email me or connect with me at www.drletta.com. I look forward to connecting with you, so until next time, this is Dr. Rich. Peace out.